Good evening. Jerome Ellis here in the Criminal Justice 4503 class, Unit 3 activity. I wanted to answer the questions that were posted and also wanted to share, aspects of what jumped out at me in the readings where I believe I could place some emphasis on what I came away with in the search for the answers that were asked. So, incentive-based, what is that concept? That concept deals with accountability from prison administrators, where prison administrators are held accountable for the offender's success, some outcomes after they leave the prison walls and return to society. And it also talks about how recidivism can be reduced, how that person with this transitional piece that's put in place, how they won't reoffend, they won't become offenders again, and that in fact will reduce recidivism. This is done in a few ways. I found right here. Let's see, it was on where is it? Right here in the download on prisons, parole, and punishment. I found something very interesting where it talked about the cost benefit of selected correctional interventions. And, a lot of questions ran through my mind as it talked about correctional education in prison, vocational programs, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And I just thought to myself, wow, okay, incentive based. I understand that they want to put a system of reward in place for making, reduction in recidivism a priority. I see that they want to put some things in place to, reward prisons or correctional facilities that, focus more on rehabilitation than just care, custody, and control. So I get that, but it overwhelmed me as I thought about, wow, why would they have to be experts of everything? How are they going to do that? How is an administrator going to be a successful administrator for a correctional facility and be the expert at all these different areas that seem to aid in this incentive-based initiative? And that's when page 244 jumped out at me. They don't have to be the experts at everything, but they can have knowledge of things, knowledge of all of these areas, but they don't have to be the experts because it says on 244, thus prison administrators will have to build working relationships with community corrections agencies, local police, prosecutors, and courts. And then it gave that contrast, and it said right now, of course, they have no reason to care what happens to offenders, and it continued on. And that's when the light bulb went on, for me. Building relationships. I think that's the key. Now you can elicit the help. If you learn how to build those relationships, you can elicit the help of those that are experts, and they can use their skills, their talents, their assets to help transition the offenders and help them as they are released into society through those successful programs like vocational programs in the prisons, the mental health courts, the sex offender treatment in the community. CBT has a high outpatient intensive drug treatment in the community. Now you can build those working relationships with those entities and with local police and with the local courts, so that there is more of an emphasis on restorative measures. The administration, just to answer the question, the admin would be subject to a reward system that motivates the admin, the staff, to make reducing recidivism a priority. We've seen this, not exactly, but we've seen this model become very successful in private business. Let's say we're talking about hotels or transportation like Uber that replaced taxi cabs, or it works differently because they put the ratings up there, and the companies and the operators that have these businesses, the ratings are that they receive from the clients, the ratings that they receive from the persons that use their business are just as important as the revenue. So now the ratings and the revenue, they hold very equal weight. And sometimes they put more emphasis on the ratings that they receive. Why you say that? Because if you build a system where, there's an incentive for the success of the person that's come through this system, that's kind of like being rated. You're rated at a higher standard because of the outcomes, and not just because there was no use of force while you had someone as an inmate. And I believe that ties into the restorative justice piece. The value in this approach, I believe it stretches beyond the gates and across party lines. The legislators, those that draw their line in the sand, if you will, in government leadership, I believe it stretches across those lines with a couple of things, with economic implications and reductions in victimization. And that supports the key principles of restorative justice by connecting those offenders to their better selves, as the book said earlier, and it aids in the healing of making things right for the victim. So incentive-based, I'm working on a piece to turn in that talks about the transition, because I believe that you can't take a cruise ship and turn it like a speedboat. There's a process of turning that thing, of turning something that's so large. There's a process, and one of the things that has to happen is like this says, having a new focus or having a new point of reference and slowing things down. So I think that's a part of the transition that is occurring, so that we'll see more of a success when the prisons aren't just care, custody, and control, but they're also held accountable for the success or the healing that took place in their care. So wanted to highlight those things and bring that to the attention of our wonderful instructor. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.